Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lipstick Chat with Ebony Fox. Today, I want to touch on a relationship topic that we hear so much about in dating and in marriages: narcissism. We know the personality traits of a narcissist, but what does it look like in real time? Also, it's easy to blame the narcissist for the demise of the relationship, but what role did you play? Can you see you? How did I get here? Well, I'm about to share my fears, happy moments, and some desperate attempts to fix the situation. And lastly, the final resolution. Stay with me, people, as we enter the foxhole. Love bombing. I met him online. Yes, like many other mistakes that I have made, this is one of many. He was kind, generous, funny, nice, great communicator at first. We would sit and read and discuss the Bible, the different books, the verses in the Bible and how they related to real life. I thought this was a positive indicator in regards to how we would communicate in the future. After dating a while, we moved in together. Yeah, I know. Things were good in the beginning. I had my own space. He respected my morals and values regarding commitment, and I guess I thought that this meant that he was serious about me. Secretive and selfish. 2 years later, we were getting married. This is where the story starts to change. I remember he wouldn't put my name on anything. As a co-owner of the house, life insurance, car insurance, not anything. He said he had tax problems and adding me on may create a problem for me in the future. Little did he know that my imaginary job was a reporter. And I would research anything that he told me, and in most cases, it was never the truth. Controlling. Later, I noticed he had to have the blinds open from the windows a particular way. He didn't want me to use the dishwasher to wash dishes. He didn't want me to help him work in the yard because I felt like he was working so hard with his business that I could help out with other things around the house. These were things that I noticed and I noted mentally. I mean, don't get me wrong, I wasn't perfect, I had flaws, but I would always make an attempt to change and fix them because I wanted this relationship to work. On the flip side, we had some great times. He loved to travel and so did I. We went to many professional sporting events. We traveled to these professional sporting events. He took me in a mobile home an RV on a trip, and it was just wonderful. Eventually, I started to work with him in his company. It was great. Revenue was great. He made so much money that he needed to spend some money or be in a bad tax bracket. He bought property and a car and that RV. And property he bought was almost 2 acres, and that subdivision required that you had to have a 6,000 square foot home built on it. And I kept thinking, well, who's going to live in that? And why would we need that? It's just he and I. Resources. Well, as time marched on, we finally joined our savings accounts. Yes, I'm old-fashioned, and this worked initially until my mom died, and she left me some money, which I deposited in this joint account. Why wouldn't I? One day, I decided to check the account, to see what the interest was, etc., etc. And there was nothing in it. Yes, there was not one red cent in it. I was livid. I was over the top. I confronted him and he proceeded to argue with me that I never deposited any money in that account, that there was no money for me. And I told him, well, let's just go back to all the deposits for that month and that day. Well, he didn't want to do that. Needless to say, without making this a long drawn out story, I got my money back. But after that, Separated accounts, of course. That was the beginning of another problem. Insecurity. One day his aunt came to visit. She had some business to take care of in town, and she had spoken to him about coming. And it wasn't until she arrived that he mentioned to me that she wanted to stay with us for a few days. I didn't have any problem with that. I knew the following week that we were going to be going out of town, and she didn't like to fly. So I was curious as to how she was going to get back home. When I asked him when was she leaving, he said he didn't know. Well, gee, that was odd. So I went to her directly and asked her, what was her time frame? And she said she didn't know. This is when I realized that he had extended an open invitation for her to stay as long as she wanted to. This resulted in not a good moment in time for us as we argued in front of his aunt. And I thought, this is getting out of hand. We need to separate. So I got in my car and I left for a while. I went to my girlfriend's house and stayed with her and actually spent the night. Texted him to let him know where I was. And when I came back home, when things had died down, he accused me of cheating, even though he knew where I was. He accused me of cheating, and he wanted to take my cell phone from me and go through it and review all my messages. This was a fight because he literally chased me through the house to try to take my cell phone from me. It was interesting because he couldn't open it. He didn't know the passcode or anything. So eventually I just gave it to him because it wasn't worth the fight. And then when he got it open, because I gave him the passcode, he looked at my messages and he was like, oh, well, you deleted them. It was just sort of like whatever he could blame on me for whatever reason. Well, as time went on, I started noticing that he didn't take accountability for anything that he did or said. If he did something, he changed the way the whole situation happened. If he said anything, he changed the entire narrative. I started thinking he had Alzheimer's or something. I didn't know what was going on. One day I was talking to him in the kitchen, and I don't know what was going through his mind, but when he proceeded to walk out of the kitchen, instead of walking around me, he walked up to me and bumped me in the chest. You know how kids did on the playground when they were going to fight? But he bumped me so hard, he knocked me on the floor. Then he looked down at me and said, "You fell on the floor on purpose." Really? Well, while working with him, I helped him pay all his employees and ensured that he got his check too. And we had worked out my salary. But interestingly enough, for about 2 years, he would always forget to pay me. It would always be 3 days later, and he would say I should just ask for it. But I just think after me working with you and paying people weekly, that at some point after 2 years, you would remember that I hadn't been paid. So I told him, I think that so many relationships dissolve because of money. Why don't I just not work for you? But if you need me to do anything, I'm happy to do it at no cost. This was the beginning of the end. Typically, when he ever got upset with me, he wouldn't talk to me for a while, maybe some days or some hours. But this time, as time moved on, he moved all his belongings out of the master bedroom and put everything in a separate bedroom. And when I asked him if he was coming back to the master bedroom, he said he didn't know. On several occasions, I attempted to talk to him, and he would just move me aside and just tell me he didn't want to talk to me. After a month of this behavior, I gave up and decided I deserved better, and that a true adult male would be preferable. And yes, you heard me, a month. This actually went on for 3 months. By the time I started looking for a place of my own, it had been about 3 months. I had made no more attempts to try to discuss anything with him. And I think at some point he realized that, well, she's not going to try to talk to me, so let me try to talk to her. I told him we needed a marriage counselor. Otherwise, I saw no hope for the marriage, as it was obvious we had communication issues. We both agreed to counseling. But he wanted to ensure we had a female counselor. I don't know why. I didn't ask. But if you stick with me, I'm sure the reason will be revealed. Now, here's the flip side to that. We all know that women always need someone to talk to, so I went to friends of his that I thought were friends of mine to discuss what was going on. Maybe I could get some advice, or maybe they could tell me something because they had been friends of his for over 30 years. It's interesting. This is when you find out who your real friends are. And trust and believe, I found out who mine were. Please be sure to subscribe and like this podcast. Come back to hear the rest of this drama. Hope to see you soon in the foxhole with Ebony Fox.